what I originally made this video for, and what folks on Modern Future KL Smith uh, thing will see is this portion of the video, which is talking about GMC, or the Hummer, GM Hummer EV, which was unveiled today. And I don't know if you guys have followed all. Some of you do, some of you not. But the Hummer EV was shown off, well, teased really earlier this year. LeBron and GM came together. Pretty sure some type of partnership collab. Um, LeBron owned a Hummer. It was like one of his first vehicles. And so I'm sure they tapped him like, hey, we're bringing back the Hummer. It's going to be all electric. We want you to be the spokesperson. And it seemed like he's like, okay, sounds cool. They probably showed him what the vehicle's going to look like. He's been hyping it up. And so they unveiled it yesterday, really, 8 p.m. Eastern, um, during the World Series. And I watched it. It was like 5 minute, 30-second reveal. It was pretty dope. I have a Tesla Cybertruck reserved. It did not, let me get this out the way first. It did not make me want to drop my reservation for the Cybertruck and hop on this Hummer EV train at all, but I am excited. Now, if you've been following Tesla, some of you probably do. Tesla's a pretty popular topic on YouTube in general, and it has its own cult following with bloggers, people on Twitter and social media in general. And then obviously mainstream media absolutely loves to either hate Tesla vehicles or love slash hate Tesla stock. So, so I find that very interesting the way mainstream media treats it. And there's so many side arm journalists that aren't really doing their due diligence talking about the company that make all of these fudsters type, I would say, proclamations about Tesla, especially now that they're doing so well. So, and they're not overly critical of legacy automakers, which I think is probably the most frustrating thing when you talk about the cult of Tesla and the people that love Tesla and why they are so vehemently, I don't say against, but just like they give legacy automakers a tough time, like a really tough time. And I think it's a combination of two things. One, legacy auto has been dragging their feet literally for like 10 years now. And then two, the way that mainstream media covers legacy automakers, every time they make an announcement, it's the Tesla killer. And I think that just irks people that have Teslas because, it's been 2012 is when Tesla released the Model S. And most legacy automakers are barely getting to the specs of the Model S that's damn near 10 years ago, right? And so legacy, or I would say mainstream media, doesn't really say that about legacy auto manufacturers. And you just have folks that are either diehard EV enthusiasts or Tesla fanatics and cult of Tesla folk that continue to give them a hard time because mainstream media goes, the next Tesla killer is up, which we're going to see. We're going to see plenty of those by the time you guys see this video today. So uh, I'm, 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 I understand their frustration, but I will say this: I liked the unveil. I liked the unveil. There are some things that I am overly critical of about this in general. One of them is the price of the high end version, which we'll get to in a second, of the Hummer EV relative to mile and range, because Tesla and Rivian both have a better price and a further range. And if GM, again, some of you guys don't really probably haven't been following this too much, but GM has been touting this Ultium battery like it's the next best thing. And if this is their best effort, then that I think they got a ways to go. So It's certainly a great, great brand to bring to the light again. If you're not a car person, the um, Hummer was basically discontinued after the financial crisis in 2008. GM got bailed out along with the other people. It was on the chopping block basically and didn't make it. It was a expensive vehicle. It was a gas guzzling vehicle. They didn't need to make it. A super niche audience, and um, I think that niche audience is probably, and really, I think it was iconic in that it was a really American car. Like it was big, it was not very efficient, and like it was in the zeitgeist of rappers, NBA stars, some mainstream media. Like they liked the Hummer. So for GM to pick the Hummer specifically as the car, the vehicle, the truck, what they're calling the super truck to first, I think is really important because they recognize that it was those things. And I don't necessarily know so far if traditional automakers have like figured that out. I think Ford did it with the Mustang Mach E, but I don't really know that Mustangs. I won't say they don't because they do really right. It's an American car. I don't know if they had the same like cool factor as they did. I don't know, maybe like 20, 30, 40 years ago. Um, young folks aren't really into that, and certainly like folks in hip hop, you're not seeing a Mustang in too many hip hop videos. Not saying that they weren't in hip hop videos, but you just don't really see that. And for LeBron to endorse this vehicle, I think speaks to what they're trying to tap into with that mainstream kind of cool factor that Tesla kind of already has. And in case in point being someone like Travis Scott, who is an ultra popular um, musician, artist, hip hop artist. The Cybertruck was in his video. I want to say it was Gang Gang. I can't remember the name of that music video. I think that's right. But it was in that music video shortly after it was unveiled. So it's already in hip hop um, culture. And when you talk about some of the folks that like Elon has in his 6 degrees of separation, like he can get a lot of high touch folks just because he has elevated himself and the brand of Tesla to mainstream culture where Tesla seems like they're more cool, way cooler than mainstream media, right? Because they don't get it. And perhaps Hummer is a brand that can do the same. And that's the thing that I don't feel like a lot of Tesla or EV enthusiasts are getting. And it's odd because I saw more people talking about that with the Mustang, and if Ford could like reignite um, their EV efforts by attaching to the Mustang. And I'm just not seeing the same conversation around the Hummer, and I don't know why, but maybe folks are just misremembering what I remember about the Hummers and seeing it in hip hop videos and NBA stars talking about it. And I got my big chain and my big Hummer, right? Like I remember all of that stuff. And so when you look at like what moves the culture of things and how things sort of get into the zeitgeist of being cool, some of it has to do with hip hop culture or musicians making things um, hot or not. Not necessarily, I want to say, not all celebrities, not movie stars per se, but really it's like the music, the culture. What are people listening to? Where do I see it? And those things kind of make it cool. I suspect the Cybertruck is going to be in a hell of a lot of videos when it releases, and the Hummer could be right there with it. So the niche audience that and following that it has is really important. Now that aside, let me talk right about the specs and just do some comparisons here. And my camera's down on this reservations full down on the bottom. You can't see it's grayed out. You can see the bottom. Second. At the time that I first posted this on Twitter, the reservations were up and not full. It's only $100 to reserve any of these, but at this current time, the reservations are full on the EV Edition 1. I think the big thing that people have been critical of is the price, $112,000, and the range, 350 miles range. Those are the two things that I called out in my tweet. There was really only one other thing that I did not like. It doesn't really matter, but I think the price and the range are the things that people are going to have a problem with the most, because when you compare this to the Cybertruck or the Rivian R1T, they're at half the price with, in some cases, 50 to potentially 500 or more. We don't really know what that top end Cybertruck is going to do, especially with those new batteries range. And everything else, at least on the Cybertruck end, is either better than or about on par with what the Hummer EV is at $112,000. So you're really paying for, again, the Hummers weren't cheap. So you're paying for the name, brand recognition, and perhaps you're paying for how much it costs GM to make this vehicle, because they had to spin up new factories, all new stuff just to put this in. If you know anything about this production hell, like getting this to be cost in the black, basically cost efficient, is not easy. But look at these prices, right? Like you start $79,900, $89,900, $99,900, and then $112,000. $79,900 is basically $10,000 more than Cybertruck high-end model, and I want to say it's about $10,000 more than Rivian R1T base model. I don't know what Rivian's high-end is, but I do know that that's a factor. The next thing, oh, this was the other thing that, again, it's not a major point, but I will mention it since I'm going to talk about it next. This isn't coming out until 3 years from now. 2 years, right? 3 years, 2020. So it's 4 years out for this. Like, I thought it was a typo, honestly. Spring 2024 is a long way out to get the entry level Hummer EV, right? So they're really banking on a lot of people going all in on this top end model, because by 2024, like, we will be on a lot of other trucks that will probably have better range for better price, that might look better or just be better than the Hummer EV. So hopefully by that time, the Ultium batteries are better. The cost for this makes a little bit more sense. Everything is just better about what they're doing. The standard features for this are pretty sweet. Again, I liked all of the other features, just didn't like the price for the miles, and then really the time it's going to take to make some of these other models. Again, let me just state that I am not moving off of my Cybertruck. I thought that the Hummer was okay from a design standpoint. The reason I'm not moving off of it is a point that Elon actually made when they unveiled the Cybertruck, and my brother and I were talking about this quite extensively at the time when we both basically reserved ours day one. His point was, and again, it's just him and I going back and forth. So it's his point and my point, but really his point was like, look, I have seen every single truck, and he's sort of interested in trucks. He's always been like a Honda dude, but like he likes trucks. He just felt like, why would I get a truck? When he saw the Cybertruck, it was like, oh, this looks like a car from the future. And the thing I told him was, concept cars that show this like futuristic look have been a thing for literally, I don't know, ever since big auto started showing up at car shows and showing what the future would look like, and then they just take maybe one or two things that you didn't really like about the car and they put them into the model from like last year and looked real basic, and they just added some two little features that don't really, they've been doing that a really long time, right? So concept cars either end up several $1,000,000 with 10 or so manufactured in the world, and they get sold off in like Saudi Arabia or somewhere where very few people ever have them. Or they take, again, a couple features and throw them into last year's model and call it the 2021 and 2022. They never make the futuristic car the real car because the production to get that specific thing that looks wildly different than all of the other things that have existed before it is so expensive. That's the reason that. And I would love to see more cars that look like cars that should be in 2020 coming to life, be it new materials, better safety. And you could say some of this stuff has just kind of ubiquitously become a thing. But if I look at maybe generationally, cars have kind of shifted how they look. But I guess when you're in the moment, nothing really looks like the future. The Cybertruck has been the one vehicle where him and I have, again, talked about this, where it doesn't look like a truck. It looks like future trucks now. And so I'm excited about the prospect of Blade Runner, cyberpunk, futuristic look in a vehicle that looks like it came from, 2040 or whenever. And I could drive it next year, hopefully. So that's what has me excited. And what Elon said was like, truck designs haven't changed for damn near 100 years. And I just can't make myself purchase a truck. I don't really like how trucks look, and they're super inefficient. Just have bad drag coefficient, like just straight wall with wind resistance hitting it and flying up the top. That's how every single truck looks. So the XY design is something I was like, oh wow, that actually might be a pretty efficient vehicle. And so I'm excited about the prospect of that. But again, the Hummer looks pretty cool for a traditional looking truck or Jeep-ish look. If you look at the infinity roof and when you take that off, those glass pieces off and what that looks like. But overall, that is what has me most excited about my Cybertruck and why I just won't get really anything else. If they make an SUV, maybe I'll consider it. I saw that they are considering. My wife really wants an EV SUV that fits all of our kids. Rivian is the front runner. We're going to see how big the Cybertruck is because that might just do it. And we'll go from there. But my family is all in on EVs, and they're just incredible. Like my Model 3 feels like a freaking supercar. It's so awesome. And I'm excited that more automakers are expediting the process, really because I think Tesla's stock is like, they're all envious. Despite making millions and millions of cars, ICE cars, they're falling behind when it comes to, I think, the mind share of young investors and the future. And so I think that's kind of worrisome for those folks because they got to kick it in gear. And the Hummer is a great brand to do so for GM. Maybe they get some lightning in the bottle with that. And LBJ winning a championship, maybe he can bring them some sales with this. But we'll see. So that's pretty much it. If you are on the Arctic channel, you can head over to the channel where you can catch more EV stuff. Otherwise, maybe you'll see me again sometime soon. I don't know. But I'm doing all right, y'all. I'm okay. COVID is a mofo, but I'm okay. All right, y'all.